Yo, what up YouTube? It's your boy Rob Skate TV, and we are back in the garage with another video. A quick tutorial, which I thought I was going to make it short, but I think it's going to be too long, so it's just going to be a real video about me breaking down sumos, why to use them, and what sizes that you want to go with. Like, how are you going to find them? Because I have some people in my comments hitting me up being like, yo, where'd you get the sumos at? How do I order them? Where's the link at? So let me explain it in a way that you can just break down your own sumos, find them, and actually go with something that you want so it's fully custom versus just getting the Kenta curves on mags like everybody does for the 12s. Or the new meta is just getting the RTR 14s and throwing those on. So you could do that, but if you want to save yourself a little bit of money, let's go ahead and go over it real quick on how to do it. So right here, as I spin the GoPro around, is my Happy Run F18, also comparison to the Leon X1 or I think it's the Leon bike or the Karanj X1. They're all the same bike, dude. Like at this point, they literally are just like all copying each other. But anyways, the difference is I got these sumos on. How did I get these sumos? Very easily. First thing first, you need the rims. So I like doing spoked dirt bike rims. The reason being, instead of mags are not made for like jumps, made for the dirt and everything else. So they're more prone to cracking. So if you get mag wheels, great for the street, but they also, I believe, weigh more and they're prone to cracking. So dirt tires have all the spokes for a reason, because you have all these different points of contact to reinforce the rim. That way, if you're jumping, you're going off something, or you're having a good time, you're not worrying about your rim cracking. Versus a mag wheel only has a couple points of contact, like a 5-spoke or a 4-spoke. Those are the only points of contact. So if you hit something hard enough, the rim cracks, the rim's no good, and now you're SOL. Another really good thing about spoked tires or spoked rims is that they all usually have tubes. So what happens is, if you have a tube, if you run over a nail or something like that I did before, your whole tire is not ruined, as opposed to a car. You run over a nail, either you have to patch it or you have to get a whole new tire. This way, the only thing you have to replace is the tube. Like one time I ran over like a match lighter. Like I was just cruising, dude, and I just heard a loud just pop. I was like, oh, what the I look back and my whole tire is just like flat, bro. I pull it out, it's like a metal shaving from a lighter, just like on the side of a bicycle path. And I thought I would have to buy a whole new tire, and I remembered, oh dude, I'm running on tubes. All I had to do is replace my tube for like 12 bucks, swapped my tubes, and then I was back on the road. Saved me a whole bunch of money because I had the Michelins, and those Michelins cost me, I think, like $110 just for the rear alone. So that's why spoke rims are great, because they're tubes. They're a lot more reinforced, and it makes it easier to replace because you're just replacing tubes. All right, moving on. So if you're gonna buy spoke rims and you want to get the same size for your sumos, all you're doing is hopping on Amazon or eBay and you're just typing in the size that you want to do. So if you want to run 14s, type in 14 pit bike rims, and they're just going to pop up with a whole bunch of rims. So you want to get your rears, and then you want to get your fronts. And then before you buy your front or your rears, you want to make sure that you get the right axle size bearing. What do I mean by that? I mean, if we go over here, right here, you see that? You have your bearing. All bearings are not created equal when it comes to buying pit bike rims. Some bearings are made for 12 millimeter and 15 millimeter. Those are the two most common sizes. So you need to get your axle and find out if you're sitting on a 12 millimeter axle or a 15 millimeter axle. So here, I believe, is a 12 millimeter axle. How do I know it's a 12 millimeter axle? Is because I got my 12 millimeter wrench and I put it on the bolt head, and I can go ahead and see if it takes a 12 millimeter. If it takes a 12 millimeter, then you know you're sitting on a 12. If it's a 15, then it's gonna, take like a 15 to be able to take it off. And the sizing. Typically, if it's a lot smaller like this, you can tell it's a 12, So even if I try to put it in here, you'll see it's really loose. So this right here would show me that it's a 12. So that's basically that. When it comes to doing those bearings, just make sure you get the right one. So if you get a 14-inch rim, you want to make sure to get either a 12 millimeter bearing or a 15 millimeter bearing, depending on what you're using. So that's very important for you to find that before you order it, because you don't want to order the wrong bearing size. Then you got to do what I do, because I didn't know this before. Then you got to order one of these right here, a bearing removal pull kit. So then you have to pull the bearing out of the rim, order the right bearings, reinstall the bearings, and then you'll be good to ride. It's literally just an extra step that's just slowing you down doing like the bearing removal tool. So do yourself a favor, make sure type in the right pit bike rim size, then type in the right bearing size, and then you should be good to go, because the most common is 12 and 15 millimeter. So once you order your right rim, then you're like, okay, Rob, what do I got to do next? I got the rim, but I need to get my Sumos. So how do you do tire sizes? Tire sizes are pretty simple. They come in variants of 3 numbers. So you have 3 numbers on the side of your tire. So you want to go ahead and get your front or your rear, and you want to find out what you have. Right now on the Happy Run, I was running a 17-14 setup. So I'm going to look at the rear tire, which is my rear setup, and it's going to run a 90-114. The first number is going to give you how wide the tire is. That means that it is 90 wide, and how tall it is going to be the 100. That means how tall the tire is. And then lastly, 14 is going to be the rim diameter of the tire, which means it's good for a 14-inch tire. It's 100 wide and 90 tall. So that means when I'm going to go, it's 90 wide and 100 tall. So rule of thumb is with Sumos, dirt bike tires are a little bit more narrow. As you can see, these knobbies do stick out quite a bit, so they're always going to be a little bit more wide than originally documented. So when I know that I got knobbies on a 90, on a street tire, I want to go at least 2 over. So that means if it's at a 90, I want to do 10, and it's a variance of 10. So you have 90, 100, 110, 120. So this setup right here, which I'm going to put the link in the description, already comes with the 2 tires. It comes with a 110 rear and a 90 front, meaning that means my rear tire was a 90. I'm going to go 2 over. So I got a 110, 90, 14. So I didn't want to do 100 sidewall, because I don't want my sidewall to be too tall. On my street tire, I want it to be a little bit more narrow and aggressive. So in the rear, I'm running a 110, 90, 14. In the front here, I'm running a 90-90-14, meaning the original tire came with a 70-100 14. You can kind of barely see it over there, but it had a 70-100 14. And as you can see, this is a 70-inch Sumo tire, which showed me that running 70s is not really that great. Because if we look at how narrow that is, these are both 70s, but if you see the knobbies go over quite a bit versus how this 70 is not as wide. So knobbies, like I said, it may read 70, but with the knobbies over hunching itself over the tire, it sits more, like a 90 if it is a 70, or an 80 minimum. That's why when I'm running street tires, I'm going to run over the knobbies, because they're going to be at least wide enough. So 90 in the front, 110 in the rear. I'll put that link in description, so you can go ahead and order your spoked rims, and you can order your Sumos, shop around, see what you're running stock. Like I said, typically 20 over should be fine and not be able to rub. If you're going to run like 30 over, like if I was going to run a 120, I think 120 might be the max that I would be able to run on this without clearance issues, possibly. But this one has a pretty wide swing arm in the back. So, you can try to go as wide as you want, but just make sure if you do super wide and you run into rubbing issues, now you have to shave parts off of your bike to be able to not get it to rub on things. So take that into strong consideration when you're doing this. And when it comes to the emoto community, we're basically Groms. Why would I say that? That's because when you're looking for parts, especially tire sizes, we're running scooter tires. So meaning we're running Grom scooter tires from like a Honda Grom or anything else like that. So that's basically where we're pulling our supermotos from. Although we're running dirt bike rims, we're running Grom tires. So that's the best way to put those two in comparison. And then the rotors and everything else that I'm running. So these are sitting on 190 millimeter rotors. Probably one of the most common things in pit bikes are 190 millimeters. On the other side here, you had a 53 teeth sprocket on a 420 chain. So what I did, because I had one lying around, I had a 60 tooth 2TO sprocket on a 420 chain. So what I did was I threw that on instead, because the 60 tooth is going to give me more low end torque with a lower top speed. But since the top speed on the X1 Spark, the Happy Run F18 and the Leon bike are all capped basically at 47 miles an hour before the controller cuts it out, it wouldn't have mattered what sprocket size that I'm running unless I get into the controller and mess around with the parameters. Because as soon as I hit 47, you could just tell that it cuts out. But I wanted more low end torque to be able to get that wheelie because of the throttle lag. So I couldn't fix the throttle lag per se because I haven't messed around with the controller that much, but I at least made up for that by getting a bigger tooth sprocket in the rear. So if you want to run a bigger tooth sprocket and you have one lying around, which most people don't, I had a 2DO sprocket, threw that on, and now it has a lot more low end torque, so you can be able to pop the front end up easier. So shout out for an extra tip for that on the 60 tooth sprocket. So that's basically that. So, you know, you got your 190 millimeter rotor here, front and rear on Amazon. I got my 2TO sprocket there. We have our 110 rear on our 90 front, and we're fixing to do our new seat. And that's basically how you put sumos on your emoto. If that breakdown didn't make any sense to you at all, put yourself in the comments if you have any questions about something that I didn't cover. Usually I try to get back to people when I look at like my comments on, you know, YT Studio. So if I take too long, my bad, because I got a whole bunch of things going on here. You know, I'm just a small YouTuber. I got to go to work. I got to do a whole bunch of stuff. You know, I'm not just making videos, unfortunately. So I get back to you guys when I can, but the F18 is going to be a dope build. I'm going to do a lot of stuff to it. Next thing on the list, if you made it this far in the video, is I'm going to upgrade the screen. So on the 2.0, as you can see, this 1.0, you have no key. Anybody could just start it and then just like drive off. What I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade it with a NFC key card and a new screen. So that's going to make this like the 2.0. So you can have that NFC key card. So that means if you do have the key setup and you don't like the key setup, or it's just jangling and you could possibly hurt yourself if like you loop out and the key is going to hit the ground and like break or something like that, you can move on to a more reliable NFC setup. So I'm going to order up the NFC screen, hopefully get that connected, and show you how you can upgrade your 1.0 or any other bike to an NFC key card. And I think that would be pretty cool, because I don't think a lot of people are doing that. But that's about it. Any questions, hit me up. I'll get back to you guys. And that's basically it on the Happy Run for now, until I do like a review of actually riding it. But this is just a supermoto tutorial. So yeah. Anyways, I'm out, y'all. Peace.